Hello. We recently went to Yellowstone National Park. It's a beautiful park. As you may know, it's $35 to get in there, as it is with most, if not all, national parks. We get in for free. We also camp for half price. In this time of inflation, saving money is important to everybody, I believe. And I even wrote a 30-page booklet on all the many different ways we've found to save money while we're traveling. And that booklet is available to everybody, and I would think people would want it in this time of inflation. So, since there's probably 1,000 different movies or films, videos on Yellowstone, I'm not going to just go through describing everything as we see it, but I'm going to give you a whole bunch of different information and things we learned with regards to the park as we're going through. Yes, right now, that first scene in the building was the Yellowstone Lodge, where you can stay for a nice, pretty penny. It's not inexpensive, but it's right at, actually, I'm sorry, it's the Old Faithfull Lodge, which is a pretty penny to stay there. And this is the Old Faithful Visitor Center. And there are visitor centers all through the park. They give you all kinds of information regarding how the park was formed, what things are, why the guys go up, spew, all on and on and on. They have a kids center where they can go in and play and do experiments and then learn all about the park and the different geological aspects. And of course, they've got their auditorium with movies explaining how it all has come to be. And of course, if you're going to Yellowstone, you're going to be visiting Old Faithful, at least you should be, is one of the things it's best known for. And as you can see here, there are a lot of other geysers around Old Faithful, and there are some that shoot up much higher than Old Faithful. The problem is they spew very irregularly, and it's hard to predict when they're going to go up. So it's difficult to be there at the right time, but they do have nice long walkways and trails that go out um, around all these different geysers. So you can go see them. Now, with Old Faithful itself, just know that it does try to trick you. It has a few little false starts to tease you a little bit. But finally, once it gets going, it goes really well, and they can usually predict the time within about 10 minutes. And they have an app. They actually have an app that tells you the estimated time that it'll go, and it's not exact. It's not the same intervals. It's not like an hour um, between each eruption. It can be 50 minutes one time and an hour and 15 minutes the next time. You just don't know. So make sure you look at the app to know. And they tell you to go early in the morning or around dusk to beat the crowds, because usually between 10 and 4 is the busiest. And the only problem is we were there mid-August and it was quite cold in the mornings. So when the geyser went off, there was so much steam because of the temperature difference, we couldn't even see the geyser itself. You couldn't see the water. All you could do is hear everything and see a whole bunch of steam. So it made it a little bit anticlimactic. So you got to decide, if it's cold, you got to decide, is it okay to miss the crowds to see steam, or do you want to go later when you can hopefully actually see the water? So just one tip. So, but it is still fun, and you want to go through the visitor center and all of that. Now, camping in Yellowstone. When you go camping, there's about four different major campgrounds. We were in Grant Village by the time we reserved our sites. That's all that was left. Just when you're going to go into any national park, especially Yellowstone, Bryce, Zion, places like that, you want to make sure you know when the sites are coming available. So that because they go fast, especially the better sites. They go immediately. And I did do a review on campsites for Grant Campground and they're in Yellowstone. So you definitely want to go see that one. on the same website, Travel with Roll. But you want to be in there. You got to be in the computer the second they come available. Have your sites picked out, have them on the computer ready to go. And the second they come available, hit that reserve button, or you're not going to get it. It's just that simple. So, another good hint there. But as you're going through Yellowstone, there's just site after site, some incredible colors. It's the deepest blues and turquoise and just some of the neatest colors. You have all kinds of designs and browns and rust colors that come out from the minerals, and when the water runs away from the geysers, it runs down into the river. There's a beautiful river throughout the park. There is fishing. Now it is barbless catch and release, but yes, there is fishing when you're there. There's smaller geysers that go much more often. You'll see that there's mud pots, different colors of mud, little steam chutes, just all kinds of different things that you can see while you're there in the park. Now, if you're going to be camping, we're in Grant Village, which is at this very southern end of the park. So if you're coming in the south entrance, it's a very convenient park. And if you're in a bigger rig and you have an extra vehicle for driving around, that's probably a good place to stop and camp. But if you're coming in any of the other entrances, honestly, I would probably go to either Canyon Village or Fishing Bridge. They're much more conveniently located for taking tours around the whole park because the park is big and there's a lot of miles to cover. And from Canyon Village and Falling Bridge, it's just more convenient for taking off in different directions. So that's where I would recommend looking first for your campsites. There's excuse me. So again, all you'll see in these, you can see the names and the areas and kind of what they're showing here in each little area. Now, another thing to know about Yellowstone that you may not is Yellowstone sits on top of a huge super volcano. And it's just this massive magma volcano underneath. Now, it hasn't erupted in, I believe it's over 600,000 years, and they say it's not scheduled to erupt anytime soon. Thank goodness, because uh, according to what I read, if it does erupt, it could cover Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, and Colorado in up to 3 feet of volcanic ash, and could affect could affect the entire world because it could spew so much ash into the atmosphere. It could affect climate and the entire world um, with sunshine, growing crops, the whole 9 yards. So it's huge. It's massive. So, but we're hoping that's going to be thousands of years before it decides to erupt again. So that's something that, like I say, not everybody knows about. Um, so another another thing to know when you're out in Yellowstone is that the parking lot in the different areas do fill up, and they fill up very, very quickly and for most of the day. And so if you have an extra vehicle, a smaller vehicle, it makes it much easier because the motorhome parking is quite limited. I've been there in both a motorhome and with a just a truck to drive, and it was a whole lot easier with just the truck. Now, when you're going from one area to another, you have to drive along these horrible, horrible roads with these rivers running alongside of it and the forest all around it. Actually, I just love this kind of area. That's why I live in Colorado, because not far from my house, I can see this same kind of scenery. It's just beautiful. So everything about the park is wonderful and nice. So enjoy when you're there. Be sure to enjoy every minute of it. And also, there are, like I was saying, there are lots of rivers, big rivers, waterfalls, um, cascading, huge falls. It's just a gorgeous place to be and see. So be sure, and there are actually areas in here that I couldn't get to where they say you can slide down some slick rock slides. Did not see that area, couldn't find it, but they say it's there. And this is off a little side road. It was called, I believe, Fire Canyon or Fire Creek. So you want to be sure to take all the little spurs and all the little offshoots to be able to see gorgeous signs like this. And then there's also one of the big villages is Canyon Village, where they have visitor center. They have um, great big grocery store, restaurants, and they have all kinds of areas like that up there. And besides that, you take off just back behind there, and that's when you come to one of the major waterfall, or actually the major waterfalls in the park, which is just a stunning waterfall, and that is Lower Falls, which is right here. This is such an amazing waterfall. It's quite large and it's powerful, powerful. And this waterfall goes into an area that's called the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone. And it is a very large painted canyon that the river runs down through. It's all kinds of different colored rocks. It is quite deep, as you'll see, and you can look way, way, way down there, and there's the river. So that's a really cool spot to be in as well. Um, and just kind of marvel at all the different sights this park has to show you. But that's pretty much our trip in Yellowstone and the information I can tell you to help you out when you go there. Again, this is just real close and right behind the Grant Village area, so it's a close drive from there. So if you're camping there, and oh yeah, the wildlife. I almost forgot about the wildlife. We only saw buffalo this time because it was August and there's so many tourists. If you go early in the season or late in the season, you can see a lot more wildlife. You can see elk and moose and antelope and possibly bear. And one of the best places we went before, we didn't go this time, we went before, was way off to the east, towards the east entrance. There's a valley out there where we saw tons and tons of wildlife last time we were here. So, and if there are buffalo, just be aware that traffic will stop dead to be able to take um, pictures of the buffalo. So again, this was our trip to Yellowstone. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed my information on it. And you guys take care. And if you make it to Yellowstone, just be careful. You know, be leery of the crowds and just enjoy it all and take care.